I don't support small business or big business. I support good business. And that's first. Good business is first.
The Know Your Gear podcast.
Today's Guitar of the Week is a rant / good time / it's an emotional journey. Guitar of the Week is supposed to be a story about a guitar. This is a story about a guitar. I don't know how the hell this happened. I have no idea how I'm sitting here right now with this situation to explain to you guys. But I want to tell you guys so much. So a couple weeks on the show, I talked about this briefly for a second. It didn't even really make sense. I mentioned that I was on Reverb. I know, rare, right? I'm on Reverb every night, every morning, every night. Look, if I'm in the restroom, I'm on Reverb. If I'm going to bed, I'm on Reverb. And if the movie or TV show I'm watching is not very good, I'm on Reverb. It's almost a sickness. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not always on Reverb. Sometimes I spend time on Craigslist or OfferUp or eBay or Sweetwater, Guitar Center, or mom and pop store websites. I'm all over the place. But Reverb is And I told you guys this story. So I was looking and I saw a Music Man Petrucci Majesty guitar. I have one, and this one was like the one I had, but it was a slightly different color. And I did that thing that you do sometimes, and the guy was asking a really good price and was used, and he just so happens to be pretty local, like local being an hour drive or 2 hour drive. I saw it and I thought, what if I get rid of my guitar and get that guitar? And you start turning your head like, because that's a color I'd rather have than the one I got. And I was like, okay, and what a stupid thing to worry about. But hey, we just discovered if this is the greatest luxury you can have, is to worry about something that's not important. I clicked on it to follow it. What it preceded then, and I told you guys this part, is I got bombarded by dealers sending me offers to guitars that were brand new. Most of them were giving me 10 or 15% off. One gave me 20% off, but the deals were pretty crazy. I mentioned this all in the episode, so you can go back if you want to see, so you can keep me honest on this. I even mentioned that I thought the guitar was kind of ugly. It was an uglier paint job than the one I was looking at. And it was much more expensive. And I was like, oh yeah, no good. And anyways, something happened, and I don't know how to explain it. But that Friday when I told you guys about it, and then I timestamped me talking about it, and then another dealer sent me something that night, and then over the weekend, by Monday, I decided I love the guitar. I don't know how to explain this. It's like when you you get a puppy or a kitten and you're like, it's pissing on everything. This sucks. And all of a sudden you're like, I love it. It can't go anywhere. Like all of a sudden I'm just in love with this guitar. I'm like, I got to have this guitar. Now here's what's funny. There was a store, and this is why the story is funny. There was a store and they gave me a really good deal. It was like 20% off. I'm like, wow, 20% off. That's a really good deal. This is you'll see, very exotic guitar. When I say exotic, very rare. They only made 50 of these. So it's a Majesty, but it's a very rare one. Only made 50. They're all personally signed by John Petrucci. So, and as you guys know, I interviewed him, and he even helped me pick out a guitar on the podcast we did. You can watch that podcast on the other channel if you want. And here's what happened that's funny. I reached out to a dealer that had sent me an offer, and I said, how much does the guitar weigh? Now, this is a professional high-end dealer. I'm not going to out them. I probably should, but I'm not going to. And they responded to me with, we don't have a scale. I have no way to weigh it. No, it says, no, they didn't say that. They said, I have no way to weigh this guitar. Now, I was happy that they actually responded. That's always nice. But then I was also thinking, well, how do you ship guitars then if you can't weigh them? But okay, I got it as you don't want to do it. But I thought, how irritating is that? Because this is an expensive guitar and it's very rare. And obviously everybody's trying to get rid of theirs. And you can't even go weigh it. I'm like, fine. Another dealer who didn't have it on sale had one, and they had the weight listed and it was beautiful. I emailed them and I said, hey, I saw you have this guitar. I said, I got a bunch of offers. I said, and I presented the offers. I said, if you want to match these offers, or come, just tell me what you can do, I'd like to buy it from you. They responded with, they're not going to take any offers. It's too rare of a guitar. You can't find one, they said. They put in their text, you can't find one, when I just sent them 4 offers and there's 6 on Reverb right now. I was like, now I know 6 is not a lot. They only made 50. 6. There should be 0 available. The Herman Lee, they made 200 and they sold out in hours. But anyways, this is what's funny. I'm sitting there going, so we go on to the next dealer. This continues on for a while. And then I get to a dealer who I know and I trust and I like, and I send them a message, and I say, because the person I buy from doesn't work there anymore. And I said, hey, I used to work with this person. I bought, Surs from you and other guitars. I'd like to buy a guitar from you. And I said, are you going to have any Black Friday specials? That's coming up. I'm trying to be nice and say, hey, is there any kind of deal? Because I don't want to say like, hey, I know everybody's trying to get rid of these things. You want to just make me a deal? They respond with, well, what were you thinking? So I responded with 20% off. Why? Because they asked me what I was thinking. I don't care. So they responded with basically 10% off. Now the problem is I already had a better deal than that. But when I was looking at theirs, I started liking their top and their guitar the most. And I'm sitting there and it hit me, and this is why I'm telling the story. We talk sometimes on this channel a lot about, supporting small dealers and supporting small builders. And I constantly find myself forcing myself to work with small builders to get that content in front of you guys, even though they tend to be the most difficult to deal with. And I don't want to say this to all of them because there's a few, but they are definitely when I deal with a small builder who's nice, it's an exception. It's not the rule. Small guitar builders are the only companies I've ever dealt with that have called me up or emailed to scold me for doing other brands. I've never experienced this. Imagine, I did the Cortec factory. Imagine if, another factory of World Manufacturing said, hey, why are you doing a factory tour of their factory? Don't do that, right? I've had that happen with small builders. I've had small builders send me emails or call me and say, why are you highlighting that builder? I'm like, I highlight all the builders. It's a guitar channel. It's a gear channel. So same to the dealers. I'm like, I'm trying to give these dealers my business. And you could say, now hold on. And before anyone gets a little like, yeah, but you're trying to get a deal. Well, first of all, they were offering the deal. But second of all, I have interviewed the CEO of Sweetwater. I have hung out with him today. I have worked with them. I've taken their tests. They had one too. I know where to get a deal. All this time, I was purposely trying not to give my money to Sweetwater. I was purposely trying, as a person who had a small dealership for 13 years and knows what it's like when you have to give a guitar away. Listen, when these guys are offering deals on the guitars, and I've said this to you guys before, because I had somebody ask me once, they said, well, you should stop telling people to ask for dealers for discounts. And I go, why? They're grown adults. They can give the discount they want. I never sold anything I didn't want to sell. I only sold things I needed to sell or wanted to sell. But more importantly, the only thing worse than selling something on a discount is not selling it out at all and having to pay your bills with money you didn't make. So back to what I'm saying. I didn't want to give the money to Sweetwater. I like them, but I was trying to give it a small dealer. So I was a little irritated. And then I fell out of love with the guitar because I was like, I didn't even know why I even wanted this. So that's the story, except for here's where it gets a little better. The dealer who offered me the lower price, they contacted me back and said, hey, you still interested in that guitar? What do you want to do? So I responded to them and I said, yeah, I want to work with you. Well, let's figure it out. So, by the way, I've always had great experience with them, and this ended up good for them. I'm only going to show you one today. This ended up great for them because I ended up buying 2 guitars from them. I actually approached them. I'm going to tell you that story later. So the guitar store I'm talking about is Eddie's Guitars. Just give him a shout out. The guy was Nathan. Great store. I responded to him and I said, hey, I have a way that we all be happy. There's actually another guitar I need for a video. Why don't I buy both guitars? And then, now you can kind of figure out the best deal for selling 2 guitars. And he did, and it worked out great. So with that being said, let's unveil this guitar. The weird part is it's a Kiesel. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so you guys already know it's a Majesty. So this is a Majesty, and it's supposed to look like Aurora Borealis, right? All right, ready? Some of you like it, a lot of you going to hate it. Here we go. It is this burl top green with what looks like blue, but it actually fades blue and then turns purple. You can see the back is purple, and then the green on the back of the neck. Looks like an alien spine, that flame maple. So it's a typical 7-string Majesty, but in this Aurora Borealis color that goes from basically fluorescent looking yellow to green to blue to purple, and the purple's a little hard to see. I could probably go to the side cam. There you go. It really pops and with more light. And then see, it's like a flip-flop purple. And then John signed it right there. So there you go. The other part of this is I thought, not only I wasn't going to show you the guitar, so you know. I also got to tell you, I got to give a shout out to Simeon. He was one of my patrons who said, hey, would you please do Guitar of the Week with that? I said, okay, well, I can tell the story and do the guitar. But I had no plans to do that. But I thought, how cool, since Halloween last week, we did the Bones guitar right there. And I was mentioning to you guys about how you could play the same thing, but with different guitars, and it's different, right? And people say, you know, it's in your hands, which it is, and it's all these things. But my whole argument is it's everything, right? I'm going to play the exact same song I played for you last week, but with the inspiration of this guitar, not that guitar. So if you guys remember last week's song, it was in C. This will be in B, of course. That was a 80s metal song. Well, this is going to be more of a, I don't know what, you guys tell me what vibe. Same song. So I'll play it almost, I can't note for note, I'm not that good. But it'll be damn close to last week's song. So let's go ahead and do that. By the way, so you know this guitar has not only active boosts, push-pull boosts, it also has a piezo system. So it's going to be acoustic. I'm going to start the song, same songs last week, but I'm going to start with acoustic tones. I'm going to be running it through my Synergy 20-watt head. I'm going to use the Soldano module. So this head has clean. I'm running through a Friedman 112 with a cream back. So you guys got to tell me if it vibed differently this week with the 7-string than it did with the 80s Bones guitar. I think it did. It's just got a little bit different. You know, I mean, again, it was both of a heavy, chunky riff, but it's just really fun sometimes to talk about the fact that, yeah, look, it's in your hands, it's in your head, whatever it is you're as a guitar player. But man, guitars do have inspirational qualities. So obviously, this is the new Majesty. The old Majesty is gone, and along with another 7-string. So paired 2 down to get 1, which worked out great because I don't need a bunch of 7-strings, so it works out great. Let me know. I want to see what you guys think of the colors. You know, it's funny. I was afraid to show this to Shauna because I go, this guitar you're gonna think it's ugly, and she goes, okay, and I go, it's really ugly. And then I show it to her, and she goes, oh no, that's not that bad. And I'm like, now here's what's funny. I didn't take that as, oh, it's not that bad. I take it as, I must have actually owned much worse than this, but it's cool. I love it. So you know, I love the colors. I love the blue and the green and the purple. You know. So very cool. Guitar, of course, plays amazing. I've done Majesties before. Brian says you seem to flow better. I think so. It was a lot easier to do it on the 7. Obviously, that chunking is really easy with that bigger string, and just it was nice. It was fun. So, but the core of the story is, you know, I'm curious to see if you guys notice what I noticed, which is these dealers out there. I really want to support them. And like I said, Eddie's Guitars is a great dealer. I've bought many guitars from them. Okay. And every time they've taken good care of me. And I try to keep going back to the dealers that take care of me. But I really sometimes it bums me out. I feel like, I know Sweetwater is great and I love Sweetwater, but I feel like, when everybody's like, hey, what about the mom and pops? And yes, some of them have the best service and they're the best stores. And then some of them are just the worst. And I said this once before, I said this years ago, and I just want to say it again. I don't support small business or big business. I support good business. And that's first. Good business is first. Eddie's Guitars, by the way, two things. I am not sure that Eddie's even knows that I'm Phil Mcknight, the YouTuber. I want to tell you though, even though normally when I buy my personal guitars, I use a different account with a different name. I did use my personal email. It did say my name is Phil Mcknight, and I even put has my business information, and it says Know Your Gear Podcast. Why do I think maybe Eddie's didn't know it was Phil Mcknight? I was asking questions about neck specifications, and they said, they asked me nicely. They said, hey, have you ever measured any of your necks before? Do you know? They were asking me, do you have a reference to the neck? Because I was asking them comparative questions about a guitar I had versus the one they had. And they said, well, have you ever measured your neck before to see what it is? I'm like, yeah. I said, yeah, I've measured all the necks. That's what I said. I go, I've measured all the necks. And then I was like, so what I'm trying to say is they didn't give me a special deal for being a YouTuber. I don't even know if they know I was a YouTuber or anything. Which is fine. The important part is they just took care of me as a customer, which is great. That's why I want to give them an honest shout out. The deal they made me was the deal they'd make anybody. Especially if you're buying two guitars like that, or I imagine. But what was I going to say? And so I support them, not only because they're a small business, but also because they're a good business. See, support good businesses. That's easy. I think a lot of small businesses are good businesses, but I think it's a lot easier just to think of it that way. Support good business. So if you like this clip and you'd like to watch another one, you can click right here. And if you want to see the entire episode of the podcast, you can click right there. As always, thank you for your time and know your gear.